Many of you have been contemplating starting your own business, but was afraid to do so because you thought you needed to hire a company or a professional to do it for you. But I'm going to tell you 6 quick ways to do it on your own and save thousands of dollars in the process. But in the meanwhile, let's talk about the best business structure, which is the limited liability corporation, also known as the LLC. Now, why is this structure so important? It protects your personal assets. If you have rental property and somebody gets hurt on your property and they try to sue you, they cannot touch your personal assets. Or just say you have a company, some customers dissatisfied with that service and they decide to sue you, they cannot touch your personal assets. Let's also talk about financing clarity. It protects you for filing your taxes where you have a separate profit and loss statement, and it also protects you for banking. If you want to open up a bank account, your lenders will say, where is your company's financial statements? If you have it commingled with your personal monies, you cannot show them that. But it's also important to have that separate bank account. Also, what it does is it allows you to comply with local and state requirements. Some jurisdictions require an annual report. If you have your own LLC, you can file that annual report. Now, let's go into the 6 steps in setting up your LLC. Now, the first thing you need to do a name search with the corporation division. You got to have a name for your LLC because you cannot file any papers without a name. Now, what you need to do a name search and make sure that nobody else has that name or something similar. Check with conflicts. Ensure that that name is not similar to another existing company. And then if you want to wait and start later, you can reserve that name and put it on hold and then file for that name later on. Also, take into consideration trademarks. You want to make sure there's no conflict with existing brands. Now, let me give you a good tip about the LLC name. Make sure you don't restrict it with words like ABC Bank or ABC Insurance because you don't want to limit it just to the banking industry or the insurance industry. The second thing you need to do, establish a registered agent for your corporation. What is a registered agent? It is the official that files all of your documents, all of your legal notices, and it serves on behalf as the processor for your LLC. Now, let me give you some best practices. Use a fixed address where you can rely on receiving documents. You don't want to use your home address because that is a public record. Then also make sure that someone is available during normal business hours. Now, it protects your privacy because that registered agent can keep all your personal address off of public records. It provides professional services. If you operate multiple LLCs, that single registered agent can manage it all. Consideration should be taken also if you move and change your address. Make sure that you change your address with the state or municipality that you are residing in. Another thing I want to talk about is the third thing, establish the articles of incorporation. It's most commonly known as member managed LLC. What to do when you file that LLC? You need to file the principal address of that LLC, the registered agent for that LLC, and the address. And you also need to say what is the purpose to engage in any lawful act or activity within that state. Now I'm going to tell you why this is so important. In one of our rental properties, it was a multi-dwelling unit, and we have multiple tenants in this property. And we get a call one day from some tenants saying that the old lady in section 123 was selling drugs. We could not believe it. She was 80 years old. She should have been sitting at home rocking in her rocking chair, but she was selling drugs. So that's why it's so important to make sure that you have lawful activities in the state that you reside. Make sure also that the person filing the papers, make sure they set it up as perpetual for any set term so that you can stay in business as long as you want. These are important documents that need to be filed. File it as a member-managed organization so that all members can participate in daily operations. It's suitable for big teams or small teams. Now, to make it a member-managed operation is so key because if something happens to one of the members, they get hospitalized or out of service, any member of that organization can do business for that company. Now, let me give you a few tips. A few tips is you can also consult with an attorney to ensure that you are in compliance with the state-specific requirements, or you can use software such as Legal Aid. But whatever you do, make sure you include all of the information to buy and sell and any dissolution of that property. The fourth step is establish your operating agreement. The operating agreement defines all of the internal governance, the rights, the duties, and operational procedures of that LLC. It lists the addresses for all the members, voting rights, distributions, management, and succession. It helps to prevent disputes and clarifies who should operate that LLC. Make sure that the key components of that operating agreement outlines the member roles and the ownership percentages. All owners have to have a percentage that add up to 100%. It also tells you profit and loss allocations consistent with the ownership distributions and timing and priority of the management structure. It tells you how to transfer funds and restrictions on transfers, how to buy, how to sell. It tells you about your fiscal year and your accounting method. Now, let me give you tips. Even for the single member LLC, that operating agreement is strongly recommended to demonstrate separate business entity status. It aligns the operating agreement with your lender requirements and state laws. You can have an attorney review it for accuracy. Now let's go to step 5. Obtain an employer identification number, also known as the EIN. Why is this so important? It establishes you as a separate legal entity with the IRS. This is needed for tax filing, opening a business bank account, and also hiring employees. It's useful for future growth and loan application. Now, how do you apply for this? You can go online at the IRS website. It is the fastest way to do it. Once you go online, you will receive your EIN number immediately. Common uses of the EIN: opening a business bank account, filing taxes for the LLC, applying for small business loans and lines of credit. Now let's go to step 6. Open a bank account in your LLC name. Why does this matter? You cannot commingle funds with your business and your personal account. It simplifies tax reporting and financial management. It improves credibility with lenders, vendors, and tenants. Now, let me say this again. Do not have your business account commingle with your personal setup account. And I'm going to tell you why this is so important. I remember years ago, our family decided to do a family cruise where it was about 30 or 40 of us. And because I'm the accountant of the group, they said, let's send all of our money to Wanda, and she's going to handle all of the monthly payments to the cruise line. And so I said, okay, this is just a small thing. I can do this, and I don't need to set up a separate bank account. So I let it be commingled with my personal account. And then the next year, out of the blue, I was audited. And when the auditors came in, they said, you did not file this on your tax return as personal income. I said, but this was not my personal income. It was my family's cruise information that they were giving me for their down payments. And they said, well, we cannot prove that. I said, well, here's the credit card that shows that I paid the cruise line with these monies. They discounted that and made me pay taxes on that. That's why it is so important not to commingle accounts. It also prepares you for retirement. When you have that separate banking account, you can do long-term savings where you can set up an account, an IRA, a 401, or whatever you want to set up, and it appreciates in value. So that when you get older and want to retire, you can liquidate it and pay off all your debt, including your mortgage and anything that you own. This is why it is so important to set up a separate bank account. And I'm going to show you later on in the module the different articles of incorporation that you can use to format for setting up the LLC, and this will help you in your personal use for setting up that business. So I can't wait to hear your success story, and these 6 steps will help you create the best business structure for your LLC.